I'm going to start my turning by rounding my block. I'm going to use the large gouge for the rounding process. You always want to start taking very small bites, and you always want to start in the middle of the block. Notice that I am resting the gouge lightly on the tool rest. Occasionally during the rest turning process, you have to turn the lathe off and readjust the tool rest. You always want to keep the gap between the tool rest and the block at about a 1/16 of an inch. The gap is about a 1/16 of an inch between the tool rest and the block. Every time you turn off the lathe to adjust the tool rest, and then when you're restarting it, you need to make sure that you go through the same steps as starting the machine. You hold in the start button and you pull the lever up. Every time you shut down to readjust the tool rest, you want to run the lathe a little bit faster to get a smoother cut. This time we're going to be running between 900 and 1200 RPM for our second stage turning. Again, we want to start our turning in the middle of the block. Slowly and carefully. Hands up the block. Keep our turning nice and good. You don't want them to get stuck down in between the tool rest and the block. Sometimes it's hard to tell whether your block is rough turned. A good way to check that is to take the turning tool and set it lightly up on the block. If the turning tool bounces a little bit, you know that you still have flat spots on the block that you have to turn out. Now my gap is getting kind of big again, so I'm going to readjust again. I'm going to turn the machine off, readjust, and when I turn it back on, I'm going to run it a little bit faster. It's about a 1/16 of an inch, and then make sure your tool rest is locked. And then we're going to start it again, the same method. This time, we're going to be running between 12 and 1600 RPM. We're going to still be using the gouge, the large gouge, because we still have flat spots. Okay, we're pretty close to rounding. Half a step. Always turn the machine off with variable speed control. Never use the stop button. If you use the stop button, it has a tendency to lock up the lathe. So always use the variable speed control. You notice now, as I roll the block around, all of my flat spots are gone. The block is now rough rounded. The next step is we're going to adjust the tool rest in one more time. The next tool that we're going to use is called the large skew. The large skew, for this purpose, is just to lightly smooth the surface to start preparing it for our final turn. I'm going to run the lathe at a fairly fast speed, about 16 or 1800 RPM on the variable speed control. I'm going to lay the skew lightly upon the tool rest and just skim the surface. You're going to notice that I'm not taking much material off. I'm just smoothing the surface of the block. Now the block is prepared and ready for our final turning. After your block is rough turned and smooth, the next step before you begin your final turning is on the steps poster. It's step 10A, the design sketch. On the back of your evaluation, you have to take a ruler and you have to draw a 2-inch by 6-inch rectangle, and then you're going to draw your desired shape, the shape that you're turning is going to block. You can see by some of the examples, and you can use some of the examples on the ledge here by the lathes to design your own block.